In the heart of the Adirondack Mountains, there are 3 camps built by William Durant in the late 1800s. All 3 display the illusion of rusticity, with spruce tree bark on outside walls and round log beams. These 3 camps have more in common than Durant design. They're all places of learning and connection to nature. Camp Huntington, first known as Pine Knot, is now owned by SUNY Cortland and is the site for student and alumni courses and recreation. Rhonda Jacobs Pitoniak, the director, described the unique culture and environment the students experience.
Camp Pine Knot, also known as Camp Huntington, is the first great camp of the Adirondacks, and it was built by the Durant family. Thomas Clark Durant was responsible for building the railroad from Saratoga Springs to North Creek. During that time, he did a lot of exploration and was looking around for many things, opening up the Adirondacks to exploration, but actually stayed on the opposite side of this point with the Bennett brothers, who ultimately ended up building Antlers, actually. And he summoned for his son to come back from his worldly travels and tasked him with building up this area. And the son is William Durant, who became known as the sort of grandfather of Adirondack architecture. And what we see because of William's travels in the property are things from all over the world, not only in the architectural style, but actually in the physical things within the buildings as well. Camp Pine Knot became Camp Huntington because he sold this to Collis Huntington, who was also in the railroad business. And then he moved on to Uncas, which ended up being owned by the Morgan family. And then he started on Sagamore, which ended up being owned by the Vanderbilt family. So you see the constant rise fall of his wealth. We're on Racket Lake. We are in a southeasterly point. Racket Lake has 99 miles of shoreline. We sit on what is called Long Point. And if you look at Long Point on a map, it actually looks like a giant hand with the thumb sticking out, so a little like this. And we are on that thumb. The buildings are all clustered on the thumb of the point, and the rest of it is all trails. And we use those for a variety of different activities, as you can imagine, including a nature trail and cross-country skiing and snowshoeing in the winter. Staff, we've seen everything: bear, deer, ermine, weasels, grouse, loons, obviously, eagles, osprey, we've seen it all. And we've had most of them inside buildings as well. When I was at Antlers, we had a bear get into the classroom, which is on the 2nd story of the casino building. And below where it was a ramp to my door, the ramp to my house. And it eventually got up enough courage to skid down the roof and land on the railing and just took off running. So it's the biggest animal that I've ever seen inside of any of our buildings, but it was sleeping there overnight. So when I started the job, it was May 28th was my first day as the official assistant director. So camp was already open and up and running. Which meant that I had to drain it at the end of the year, and I was given a list, and different things were spray painted different colors. Remove all the caps of the yellow where you see yellow, make sure all the knobs are turned where it's orange, all of that kind of stuff. So I come back the following May, and we had a well that we would start the camp with, and so I pressurized the tank, got everything all set, double checked everything that I had it ready to go, and that the faucets were open in the sinks and the showers, off in the toilets so we didn't get rust in them. Went through the whole process. And so I slowly turn on the pressure tank, and I'm looking at the pressure tank this way, slowly turn it on. I'm like, all right, I hear water running, so I really start to turn it. And there's a pipe that went just like this over my head, and right straight out was a crack. I got blasted with water, and I was soaked. It was early May, so it was cold. The insides of the buildings don't heat up until much later. So here I was soaked on my first day of really getting the facility running. So I got really good at plumbing. I can solder a pipe like nobody's business. And I've learned a lot of other things along the way. Electricity, I can do all basic repairs. You become a good person of the disaster du jour. You're able to handle whatever comes towards you. And if you don't, you go to town and you find somebody who's experienced what you need done and ask advice. One of our biggest challenges is that we're water access only, which limits when we can have certain projects done. We have to wait for the ice to form and the ice to thaw so people can get across the lake. So when we're having contractors, for instance, come in and do work, what typically should be a project that might take a month sometimes takes 3 or 4 because we're waiting for the weather to cooperate. We create an ice road in the winter. It's 1 mile long, and it's the best time to get supplies here because you only have to handle them one time to get them off of however you're getting them here. The ice road has to be intact, and it must be a minimum of 6 inches thick because we have to be able to get our food here, which requires a snowmobile and a tote sled. I'm comfortable walking on ice with 4 inches of ice, and we actually measure it with a chainsaw. So you go straight down through the ice with a chainsaw, and we have a yardstick with a hook on the end. You slide that yardstick down into the slot and slide it over to the edge and pull it back up, and it hooks on the bottom side of the ice, and that gives you a reading of how thick the ice is. So as soon as we can, we start to pack it down with snowmobiles. Until we can get heavier equipment on it. We do have a snow blower that we can use. We also have a drag that's like a chain link fence that we can pull behind snowmobiles that will help take the air out of the snow until we can get the heavier equipment on the lake. But I understand from many years ago, they actually used to have the students go out on the lake or staff with snowshoes on and start to pack a path to get the air out of the snow. I'm grateful we're not doing that. Our mission is to provide solid experiences for folks to get involved in the outdoors, specifically with SUNY Cortland students to start. And our hope is to create lifelong stewards of the outdoors and to introduce people to what the outdoors can do. We have a lot of students who come from urban areas or heavily populated areas who have never been anywhere without a streetlight. And so it's really eye-opening for them, but the flip side of that is them being able to see the Milky Way. So it's that growth of, wow, I never knew this existed. I mean, they read about it, but to see it in person is a whole nother perspective. Yeah, so that's the hope, is to open their eyes to something they haven't seen or experienced before. Some groups cannot have access to their cell phones, and so we actually collect them, and we have them for 2 weeks. And for some of these students, they've never been without technology in their lives because they are of an age that their memories are phones have always been around, cell phones have always been around. And when you take that away, that safety device, that device that allows you to avoid or go into your own little world when you're uncomfortable, when you take that away, you have to learn how to be resilient. You have to learn how to cope with those expectations. So one of the things the students experience that is also unique to them nowadays is sitting down for a family-style meal. They don't often sit down as a family unit for long periods of time. You might be able to do it once or twice a week, but all 3 meals here are done family style unless you're doing a packed lunch for an extended activity. I mean, it gets students talking to each other, working on their soft skills, which they don't have because, again, they don't have their phones. And even if a group is allowed to have their phones with them, they are not allowed in the dining hall. So again, we're trying to force that interaction with people, helps them to come out of their shell. But it also, we remind them constantly, at some point you're probably going to have to sit down for a professional meal with somebody. and you can't check your phone during that. So we're preparing you for the future. The first meal is always very, very quiet. The second meal is a little bit louder. And by the last meal, everybody's having a good time in the talk and the conversation, and we did this, and did you see that? And it just changes the whole tone of the experience for students, well, for guests in general, because we have more than just students here. But for our alumni families, it allows them to just play together. They don't have to worry about food, they don't have to worry about what else is going on anywhere else. It's literally, hey, are we gonna go for a hike today? We're gonna go kayaking, let's go do a puzzle, it's raining. It's whatever those experiences are for those individuals. And so you're creating community, maybe forcing it at times, but it's needed, and I think once people have it, they want it. So we encourage groups to leave things behind rather than making their mark in a tree or in a building or something like that. And so a number of groups will get together and often make things after the time they're here and then send them back to us. So maybe it's a broken paddle they found while they were out paddling, and they decide they're all gonna sign it and, shellac it or whatever they're gonna do. Some groups will have a group picture that they had taken while they were here and put it on a tree cookie and paint it. And we have mushrooms. We've got all kinds of things that people have found out on the trails and have used as part of their things, or found a unique cut of branch out in the woods on a tree that was dead and down, and used a section of that to create something very much in the Durant style of using, tree roots to hold up shelving. They look like these little hands are holding up shelving units. I can't choose a particular memory, it's more about a feeling. It's being able to watch students grow and come outside of their comfort zone and leave here so much more confident and stronger. Not only doing things that they never thought they would do, but also things that they might participate in for the rest of their life because of these experiences.